This voice note was never meant to leave a private conversation. But now it's been leaked, dissected, and blasted all over the internet. Justin Baldoni's message to Blake Lively just surfaced at the worst possible moment, right in the middle of their escalating legal battle. And what he says inside that audio isn't angry, it isn't defensive, it's something far more unsettling. Because once people heard it, the entire story suddenly didn't feel as clear as it did before. Justin Baldoni isn't just another actor caught in gossip. He's a director, producer, and the public face behind It Ends With Us, a project that already carried massive emotional weight before any drama began. Blake Lively, on the other hand, isn't just the film's star. She's one of Hollywood's most recognizable names, with a carefully curated image and a fanbase that watches her every move. On paper, this should have been a smooth collaboration between two professionals at the top of their game. But behind the scenes, things didn't stay professional for long. What started as a creative partnership slowly turned into tension, then silence, and eventually into a full-blown legal clash that pulled private conversations into the spotlight. That's why this leaked voice note matters so much. It isn't just gossip, it's a rare glimpse into how these two actually spoke to each other before everything unraveled. And that's what has people paying attention. Because when a private message suddenly contradicts the public narrative, it raises uncomfortable questions about what really happened, and who might be rewriting the story now. But to understand why this audio hit so hard, you have to look at what was actually said. The leaked voice note itself is short, but every word is being picked apart. In the audio, Justin Baldoni is heard reacting to photos Blake Lively had sent him ahead of filming. His tone is calm, almost warm. He thanks her for sharing the images, says they gave him legit chills, and tells her she looked beautiful. No anger. No tension. Just a quiet, personal message that sounds supportive. And that's exactly why it shocked people. Because this wasn't a public compliment on a red carpet or a rehearsed interview quote. It was private. Casual. The kind of message you don't expect to surface years later in the middle of a legal fight. Some listeners say it sounds genuine and respectful. Others say it feels awkward, even uncomfortable, knowing what came after. What made it hit harder is the timing. This message appears to come from a period when everything between them seemed fine. Before the lawsuits, before the accusations, before the silence. Which is why fans immediately started asking the same question. If things sounded like this back then, what actually caused everything to fall apart? And once people started asking that, another piece of audio suddenly took on new meaning. Early on, there were no signs of trouble. By most accounts, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively appeared aligned, collaborative, even friendly as It Ends With Us moved forward. In private messages from that time, the tone was relaxed and familiar. At one point, Blake herself referred to Justin as a friend, reinforcing the idea that whatever was happening behind the scenes hadn't crossed into open conflict yet. Then things shifted, quietly at first. Communication slowed. Meetings became strained. And according to reports tied to the legal filings, creative disagreements started piling up. What should have been routine production decisions slowly turned personal, and before anyone realized it, lawyers were involved. Once that line was crossed, there was no going back. That's when private messages stopped being private. Voice notes, texts, and emails, things never meant for public ears, began surfacing as part of a growing legal standoff. Each new leak chipped away at the clean, simple version of the story fans thought they understood. And just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get messier, the internet got involved. Once the legal filings started piling up, the story exploded far beyond Hollywood insiders. Court documents began unsealing private exchanges, and suddenly the feud wasn't just about a movie anymore. It was about who said what, when they said it, and why it was being revealed now. Every new detail felt like it shifted the balance, and this leaked voice note quickly became the centerpiece of that chaos. Clips of the audio spread fast. Headlines framed it as everything from unexpectedly kind to deeply uncomfortable, depending on who you asked. Fans flooded comment sections, arguing over tone, intent, and whether the message helped or hurt Justin's position. Some people said it softened him. Others claimed it made the situation worse. And because this is the internet, those debates turned into full-blown fan wars almost overnight. What really fueled the fire was how closely people started tying this leak to the legal strategy itself. Online speculation kicked into overdrive, with users questioning whether the timing was accidental or calculated. Nothing was proven, but that didn't stop theories from spreading, especially once other names and private communications were dragged into the conversation. And as the noise grew louder, one thing became clear. This wasn't staying inside a courtroom. Public opinion was now part of the battle, and it was only getting harder to control. The internet didn't just react to the voice note, it dissected it. Within hours, clips and transcripts were everywhere, with fans replaying the audio again and again, searching for hidden meaning in Justin's tone. Some listeners said it sounded sincere and respectful, pointing out how calm and measured he came across. Others weren't convinced, arguing that the message felt strange in hindsight, especially knowing how ugly things eventually became. Social media quickly split into sides. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds, with one group defending Justin and claiming the leak painted him in a more human light, while another group doubled down on criticism, saying the message raised even more red flags. No one could agree on whether the audio helped or hurt him, and that uncertainty only made the debate louder. Reddit threads blew up with deep dives and timelines, while viral posts on X broke the audio down line by line. Every pause, every word choice, every inflection was treated like evidence. And as the reactions piled up, something interesting happened. The focus slowly shifted away from the original dispute and toward the leak itself. Because at this point it wasn't just about what was said anymore. It was about why the world was hearing it now, and who stood to gain from that. Legally, this voice note changes very little on paper, but in the court of public opinion, it changes everything. The audio doesn't prove guilt or innocence, and no judge is making decisions based on tone alone. Still, perception matters, especially in high-profile cases like this where reputation and credibility are always under the microscope. Some legal commentators online have suggested that the message could be used to show what the relationship looked like before things deteriorated. To supporters, it sounds calm and respectful, which they argue doesn't align with the more hostile narrative that emerged later. Others see it differently, saying that context matters, and that a single friendly message doesn't cancel out what followed. What makes it more complicated is the timing. This voice note surfaced as court dates loom closer, when both sides are under pressure and every detail is being scrutinized. Whether intentional or not, the leak has already shaped public conversation, and that can influence everything from media framing to jury selection down the line. And that's the real impact here. Not a verdict, not a legal win, but a shift in how the story is being told, and who people are starting to believe. Because once a narrative cracks, it's almost impossible to put it back together. Here's the twist no one expected. The very thing that made this voice note go viral, its calm, almost gentle tone, might actually be what makes it so dangerous. Because instead of clearing things up, it complicates everything. To some listeners, the message sounds respectful. But to others, it raises a harder question. If things seemed this normal, even warm back then, what changed so drastically that it all collapsed? And that's where speculation takes over. Online, some fans have started suggesting that the leak wasn't meant to defend anyone at all, but to muddy the waters. A reminder that relationships can look one way privately and unravel completely later. No proof of that, of course, just theories. But once those ideas are out there, they're impossible to contain. What makes this even stranger is how the voice note humanizes the situation. It doesn't fit neatly into a villain versus victim narrative, and people don't know what to do with that. Audiences like clean stories. This one suddenly feels messy, unresolved, and uncomfortable. And that may be the most unsettling part of all, because the closer we look, the less certain everything becomes, and the end of this story still hasn't been written. One leaked voice note was all it took to crack the story wide open. What sounded like a simple, private message has now become a symbol of how quickly things can shift behind the scenes in Hollywood. It didn't deliver answers. It didn't pick a side. Instead, it left the public sitting with more questions than ever before. Because if this is what things sounded like before everything went wrong, then what really happened after the cameras stopped rolling? And how many other private moments are still buried inside legal files, waiting to surface at the worst possible time? As the case moves forward, more details will likely come out. And when they do, this voice note will be remembered as the moment the narrative stopped feeling stable. Not the beginning. Not the end. Just the point where everyone realized the truth might be far more complicated than anyone was ready for. And when the next piece drops, the conversation will start all over again.